Today I look at a super cute side-scrolling shooter that also happens to be super expensive. Hey, I am the Game Collector and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I do the review of Keio Flying Squadron for the Sega CD.
Second Opinion Games.
So if you like fully animated cutscenes, boy does this one open up with a doozy. It has a lot of geopolitical stuff where it talks about how the US government is destroying different warlords in Japan in a time period that's not very clear. I thought it was supposed to take place in the Keio time period, like feudal Japan times, but it also seems to be somewhat modern, so that is kind of weird. You play as Rami, a 14-year-old girl that rides on the back of a dragon named Spot, trying to get a key back that opens up who knows. So as you can see, the opening cutscene is quickly just thrown out the window for the more ridiculousness that is to follow. Oh yeah, and it gets weirder because your main boss is a super intelligent raccoon who's trying to take over the world by using a arc, which is what brought life to this planet because it's a DNA reorganizer. That's what causes everything to go on in this entire game. Is that confusing? Well, it really is, but also makes a lot of sense. I mean, how did life start on this planet, if not by a DNA organizing super computer thing that flies, that also looks like a boat? That makes a lot more sense. I now am going to read you a slight excerpt from the back of the box. When you got the US Navy, the Russian Army, and 7 gods of good fortune, and the entire raccoon militant in your face, be glad you're wearing a sexy tutu with fire engine red pumps. That's right, she's wearing a sexy tutu, high heels, and cute bunny ears. And she's 14 years old, which also makes it super weird for some of the animations in this game. There's really questionable animations in this game, including this one where you can clearly see the dragon's balls and Raimi's backside. It just looks weird. And now that we got that out of the way, let's just jump into the gameplay, because I am not going to touch on how classy Japan is for the rest of the video, hopefully. With the gameplay, I recommend using an arcade stick. Just make sure not to turn on the turbo buttons because they don't actually work that well for this game. You actually fire faster by holding in the shot button. So keep that in mind and make sure you keep them off. Button A changes the speed of your character, which you could set it for slow or fast, and it can be optimized to your choosing in the options menu at the start of the game, which is very nice. The B button fires your shot, and also when you take off the B button, different little tiny dragons will spawn in, up to 2 of them. And where they're important is the C button, which then uses one of those dragons to fire a very devastating attack against your opponents. It also does a pretty good job of wiping out many of the bullets from the screen, which is used often to completely save your life. So mastering these 3 things, 3 buttons that is very important for finishing the game, especially in upper levels, where you pretty much continuously have to use the dragons that you spawn to clear the bullets from the screen, and some of these really ridiculously hard boss battles where you have to do the same. The first stage is actually really easy. We just kind of fly through it, destroying everything in our path and taking out some of those pesky intelligent raccoons. And eventually we work our way up the river and to a train stage. For some reason, every single Japanese game has to have a freaking train in it. Why is this? I have no freaking clue. But after we get past that, we enter the Forbidden City, which is just full of really weird enemies and strange crap. This is certainly one of the most interesting stages in any of these shoot-'em-up games. With flying pigs and rooster heads attacking you, I just get so confused what's going on. If you do happen to clear this level, which you really should, the game's really not that difficult, well, then you come face to face with the US military. Yeah, because they're going to be a big deal here in this game as they pull out all the stops to shoot down this little girl and her dragon who just wants to get her stinking key back so her mother or grandmother, or I don't know what that was, will feed her food. See, that's basically the whole point of the game. The girl wants that key back so she could eat supper. That's it. If the military just decide to give her freaking food, then they would just all go home happy and be totally fine. But no, they want to keep her from eating, so of course she unleashes her dragon on them to kill them all. Good job, USA. So as we get past the US military, it seems that we enter Russia, which then the Russians want to have a shot at us. Well, of course, if this little girl can decimate the US military, she will have no problem working her way through Russia and destroying everyone. And the fact that she has so many weapons at her disposal is kind of important, because those two small dragons can either fire homing dragons, or they can fire mines that fire in the opposite direction of what you just last pushed on the D-pad, which are extremely powerful, or bombs that just fall straight down. Also, your main dragon can either fire a spread shot that is weak, but is very good for taking out many of your opponents, especially if the screen's full of them, or can fire a very massive straightforward blast, which is what I recommend. Also, the homing dragons are something that I recommend to accompany this really strong blast to basically decimate your enemies really fast. Now, if you get hit and killed, you get downgraded a little bit of each, so stay alive. However, you don't get downgraded all the way back to 0, so I really like this. I hate it when games just throw so much at you, so when you die, you can never, ever recover. The game here is well thought out and well managed with the power-ups. So, back to the story. And that's where we catch up to our super genius raccoon, as he boards the Ark and tells us all of his crazy plans, which then our girl doesn't care and just starts playing with her dragon and is completely bored. She honestly couldn't care less about all this exposition, and neither can I. Believe it or not. I just want to get back into the game and shoot and kill many, many things. And luckily, you get to do that. Eventually, you work your way inside of the Ark, where then you could have the most grueling level ever. The last level of this game is just a marathon of bosses and really tricky maneuvering. And things do get a little rough here. However, if you manage to work your way all the way to the end boss, we will see another marathon of boss forms, which is kind of true to form for this style game. Starting off with a cat one, which is freaking hilarious. Make sure you use your dragons to detonate and destroy things to push the little top and bottom pieces back, and it's actually no problem at all. The whole last boss of the game is pretty easy, and then we completely end up destroying the Ark and launching our key off into Lord knows where, leaving the game with our girl never getting supper because she can't find the key whatsoever. And that's how the game ends. Really, that's how it ends. It feels like a very pointless adventure from start to finish, but regardless of that, I had a ton of fun with it. And even though the game is over, I still have just one more thing to talk about.
Oh no, how could we possibly find the key now?
If you enter a code at the start screen, you could enter this LCD-style super catch game. Now, it might seem really easy at first. You just play as a cat trying to catch things falling from the sky with Earth. It looks red and very generic. It's really actually kind of fun. Right around the 100th catch, things start speeding up and getting really interesting. I'm actually surprised how good I did at this game. I haven't broken the score of 400 yet, but I have played this quite a bit and am just in awe of how much fun I have despite its simplicity. But then again, I have a thing for these LCD-style games, so maybe you will find this completely horrible. Personally, I love it. And that's the whole game. And actually, this game is extremely expensive. Keio Flying Squadron can be found for the whopping price of about $1,500. I really don't recommend spending that whatsoever. I think I got it for $50 way back in the day, but you guys don't have a time machine. So is this the best shooter in the Sega CD? Heck no, there are tons of them better than this, but I do think it's really fun and rather worth playing. So make sure you emulate it, or download it, burn it, or whatever you have to do to play this game, because it is really a good time, even if it is a relatively easy shoot 'em up. And of course, that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. So hopefully you guys all enjoyed this review very much, and it's not the last we're gonna see of Raimi, because she had a sequel on the Sega Saturn, which is a system very close to my heart, and I cannot wait to show off that game. So please leave me a comment in the box down below about other Sega Saturn games that you want to see me do. And until later, I'll see you again, guys.